Next to segments, I want to get to know you.
Ooh.
Right? Get to know Sean. Why is a Sean Iredale?
Why is a Sean a Sean?
Yes. So, some of the questions that I got, and you know, kind of generic, simple questions, but really, we want to get to know you.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you. I know you pretty well, but I think anyone who's listening would love to get to know the artist, like what inspired you and all that stuff. So, first and foremost, what got you into drawing and being an artist?
Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm just kidding.
Your dad?
So with art, it's interesting because like I've said to people before, I started drawing since I can remember color. You know, it was first memories I have are putting crayon to paper and making shapes. You know, and just drawing muscle on top of sticks. And more muscle on top of more sticks. Yeah. And more muscles on muscles on muscles. To the point where I just was drawing like balloon people. Yeah. But I grew up illustrating because of comics. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I learned to read because of comics. Yeah. You know, it was the 90s boom. You know, X-Men was really hot. Now, you know, I'm an 80s baby in barely, you know. I was born in 84. My memories didn't hit till the 90s, we'll say. Mm-hmm. So, nonetheless, it was comics, toys.
Yeah, the 80s made 90s kids.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's an Instagram for sure. I know that is, but yeah.
Thank you for that. So, here I am now. I'm 33, and comics, toys. Mm-hmm. It's just that now my toys probably amount to the cost of a car or more. It's ridiculous.
Couple cars.
Yeah.
Couple hoopties.
And it'll never change. Either way, I digress.
There'll always be Toys R Us kids at heart.
Yeah, it's so
forever.
true, man.
It's
I'll
like
always
there's nothing more satisfying than like walking into, say, a comic book store that has a huge selection of toys. Yeah. Walking into a Toys R Us that actually has decent toys.
Dope.
Or you actually walk into a decent aisle at a Walmart or a Target that actually has stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird the feeling you get when that happens. But
because once you walk through those aisles, nothing else matters.
Yeah, it's
like that's how I feel every time I go to like a Target or Walmart. I go to the toy aisle and it's like, why am I here? Why am I still here?
You know what changes when you get old or when you get older?
What's that?
And this is an immediate change that happens. I'm gonna go ahead and say when you cross into 25.
Okay.
Is now that is if you're a spirited collector and you don't care that women don't touch you when they see your room or walls.
Yeah.
Is now you have two stops. What you do is you go through the toy aisle. You see if there's anything that you've been looking for or that you like. Mm-hmm. And then you find it or you don't. Then the second stop is always furniture. Okay. Always. Because what shelves are on sale?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
That's never crossed my mind. Furniture. I think that's only because at where I work, they don't have shelves like that.
Right. Fair enough.
So if I wanted something, I would have to buy a whole bookcase.
Yes.
So I think because I'm kind of okay in the shelf space,
I
always tend to go to, I guess. See, I'm a maker. I make things.
Yeah,
so I go to fabrics.
More so than
I go to crafts.
Yeah.
So,
and that's fair. You know, even I had that stint. But now for me, it's like a really popular display case is a Detolf, and a Detolf is from IKEA, and IKEA is a fucking plethora of things you can put plastic figures on.
Oh yeah,
so to speak.
I remember seeing just about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they still have it. It's probably in the same exact spot, but just the open shut case that glass shelves, glass case. You can open it and close it, and you can. I think you can lock it, or I think it just opens and closes. And it's like, I want that. I'm gonna get that. And I still haven't gotten it just because I have no place to put it.
Yeah.
My apartment's like so odd shaped and weird and somewhat small that I have no place to put certain things.
Right.
So I got to work with what I have, which is a bit of shelf space. I had to give up a lot of shelf space to my girlfriend because of her school stuff.
Fair. I mean, that's fair enough. Sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
But here in my house, I have a little bit more room.
Yeah.
So, this does relate to illustration though, because Like I said, this was the 90s. This was, X-Men was at its peak. And then after X-Men, Image happened, and then the big Image boom happened, and I started to try and make my own characters.
Yeah.
Not just trying to illustrate Colossus all the time, which I found myself doing, Colossus and Wolverine all the time. But now, as time moves on, you have your images and stuff, and Image Comics. And for me, it was interesting because the artists that I grew up liking, are one of them is Rob Liefeld, and I'm sure all of you know that name. He is definitely, for lack of a better term, controversial artist, so to speak, because he's really bad at anatomy. But when you're young, all you see is lines, spikes, guns, pouches, and it just tickles your fancy. So, that was the style of stuff that I was trying to illustrate. Clearly Jim Lee was my favorite. But Rob Liefeld was doing Image stuff that I liked. So, bigger muscles and more pouches. After a couple of years, I realized that is not the way to go. And, just tried to work harder and harder at anatomy and just creating. And one of the things I like to do most when I draw is redesigns. There is nothing I like to do more than redesigning characters. Other IPs. Because it's fun taking something and making it your own with all this history already behind it.
Yeah.
And I feel like people can relate to that. Like, for example, yourself, once you have the materials and say you had the workspace or you have a workshop, you could make your own costume. You would make your own Batman costume, and it wouldn't be verbatim any other Batman's costume. No. You know what I mean? The fun you'd have in it is making it your own. Yeah.
Which just like very very encouraged, especially in the cosplay community. It's like, granted, people want to be as accurate as possible, but then again, it's so much fun to deviate a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And change up, like, okay, I want to do, say, maybe the Dark Knight version of the Batman costume, but I want to put the bat symbol from, like, Batman Hush. And then maybe add some color and maybe change up the cowl a little bit and all that. And that's kind of what I did with, for example, the Arrow mask from, like, the CW's Arrow. I tried my best to make the mask. I made it out of foam, and I used very thin foam where, like, it's thin but it's strong. Where, like, I can really, once I heat it, I can really mold it to almost like leather. Leather. So, like, that nose piece is actually formed to my nose. I just push it up against my face, use my middle finger on that part so I can kind of bend the brow and the nose part a little bit.
I see.
And then, even so, the eye part just kind of pushed it in to kind of give a little bit of a shape, and it looks pretty cool. But the actual version of that actually has, like, lines kind of carved in, say, whatever tool they use for that, or whatever casting that they kind of did for it. But it has kind of lines drawn in for those details, for, like, these little 3 spikes that are in the middle of the nose. But instead, I took just other thin pieces of foam, and I used that for the spike, so it looked more 3D. So I had a different look to it instead, because I kept thinking, like, maybe that's how it is, but maybe it isn't. It doesn't matter. It still looks cool. Right. And it's like, so I kind of deviated a little bit just because that's kind of what I thought would look better. Instead of trying to be exact, because I'm working with thin foam, I can only do so much with it. So it's easier for me to add stuff to it than to try and subtract any material from it and all that. So when it comes to the foam, it can be kind of tough. You have to make certain decisions, and, like, when it came to that, I had to add, instead of just, like, okay, trying to carve, if I try to carve with the X-Acto knife and try to expand it using a heat gun, I'm most likely gonna carve right through it, and then I have to start over, which I had pretty much kind of had to do with the Green Lantern ring or the Red Lantern ring that I made, where, like, the second one I kept trying to do, I couldn't get it, like I did the Green Lantern one, where I got it on the first shot, but the second ones I kept trying to do, I kept screwing up on the circle. I had to Dremel it, and the Dremel can be kind of unpredictable. It can just kind of drive, it would just have a mind of its own and just drive itself out of the detail that you want to do and kind of screw everything up. So it's a matter of having decent control of that. Hey guys, I just want to say thank you for taking a listen and a watch to this little mini podcast of the Break Knyte podcast. But just remember, this is just a small snippet of what you can listen to on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play of the Break Knyte podcast, the full-length episodes. So until I'm able to post full-length episodes on YouTube, I will utilize the fact that I can throw little mini podcasts on my YouTube channel. So just search the Break Knyte podcast on any one of the sources that you listen to any podcasts, and just give a listen and subscribe to it and share it with your friends. And just remember, rate and review. That's the only way people are actually going to see it. Check me out at Craven Knight on the Twitter and Instagram, but also at Break Knyte Props if you just want to see some of the images on my Instagram for my Break Knyte Props. And also remember, Sean Iredale of Amberland Studios. Check out some of Sean's work on amberlandstudios.com, and also at Amberland Studios on the Instagram, and just search Amberland Studios on Facebook. All that stuff is linked below, so it's easy access, but just gotta tell you otherwise. So thanks again, you guys, and I'll see you next time.